That's what's holding you back right now in your business. Your laziness is a symptom of sickness. If you're lazy right now, if you're dragging your feet getting out of bed, if your self-care is going down, if you're getting fatter, if you're turning to alcohol, if you're turning to drugs, if you are starting to let your place get messy, okay, these are all symptoms of sickness. You are mentally unhealthy right now because there's too much pain in your business and it's overwhelming you. That's why you see almost all entrepreneurs get fat, all sales guys have an alcohol problem, a weed problem, a weight problem, a combination of all the above because they're in pain for so long. You should not be on a high pressure sales floor for more than 2 or 3 years. It's almost certainly going to catch up to you. Few guys can do it, but I haven't seen too many back in my day in sales. And as an entrepreneur, it's a lot of it's the same situation. I've got a client of mine, a young guy right now, and about every month or every month and a half, he starts to drink during the week. He struggles to get in and get motivated and get inspired. And almost always it's a combination. It's hating something within your business. That's what it is. For him, this week, it's problem clients. It's people we need to fire. And whenever a client's stressed out, the first thing I ask them is, who's stressing you out? It's always somebody. Somebody needs to get fired. An employee or a client. Almost always, once you're above survival. When you're in survival, at the start of your business, when you have less than 100 grand in the bank, you might have to eat a lot of dick. Metaphorically, hopefully. Hopefully that's not your business, your actual literal business, but no judgment here. Once you want to get into thrival as quick as you can, because you can't run on survival too long without the health consequences. If you look around and you see most people miserable in the world, it's because they're living on survival pretty much their whole lives, and they're working jobs that they hate. And it's not fair, but these terrible jobs only exist and for low pay because people are willing to do them. If everybody in the world said, I'm not going to be an Uber driver, well, there might be 200 guys in the city that will do it and for a large paycheck, and they would get paid adequately. But the vast majority of people refuse to stand up to mental, psychological, and physical slavery. And they never have, and they never will. And that's why these billions of garbage jobs exist, and people are willing to work these hours in factories because they aren't willing to go out and hunt, and they aren't willing to say no, and they aren't willing to do without. And they go into debt, and they buy shit they can't afford. And they never make it out of literal wage slavery, which is 99% of people, and they never will. They never will. This is the way the world's always been, and the world, it's how it's always going to be. But you don't want to stay there too long, bro. You don't want to stay there too long. If you're in that 5-figure range, you want to get into that 6-figure range as quick as you can. And if you're in that 6-figure range, you want to be moving towards that 7-figure range, because your laziness and your lack of growth is a symptom of sickness. Trees don't get lazy. Flowers don't get lazy. When you see a tree starting to wilt, or a flower starting to wilt, it's because it's fucking dying, man. Like, one day, one of your health problems is going to kill you. One day, one of your business problems is going to kill you. Hopefully after you died. Hopefully your business lives on after you die. That's my goal. But just recognize that every time that you're lazy, and then revenues are going to start going down. Laziness is almost always caused by depressed. The state that you go into, depressed, is coming from pain. It's hatred of what you're doing. It's boredom of what you're doing. It's actively resisting what you're doing. And it means that if that continues, your business will die. There's no neutral. You're going up or you're going down. Your graph shouldn't be up and down, up and down, up and down. Ideally, you want it to be as close to straight up as possible. That's why I tell guys, like, don't even get into a business if you don't think you can make 7 figures doing it. It's not that you need the 7 figures. It's that shows the health of the business. Like, if a business can't be growing every year, then it's not a good industry to be in. And most businesses shouldn't exist. I live out here in Georgia in Eastern Europe right now, and I walk down the street. There's not a fucking business that I would start here. I look in the window. There's not one business that I would start. Beauty salon that probably makes the owner $250 a month, when they could start an internet business and get paid in US dollars and make $250 in a day. So to get back on track, trees aren't lazy, flowers aren't lazy. When you see it wilting, it's because it's dying. And it's the same thing with you. Your mental health is going down and your business health is going down when you're lazy and when you're not productive. And life's too short. Life's too short to suffer in that way. Hey man, if you're in survival right now for your business, like, you don't have a lot of money saved, you're making 5 figures, you might just have to power through, but just lower the speed on the treadmill. Stop trying to do 12 hours a day, lower it down to 4 or 5 until you get your mental health back. But if you're starting to get into that thrival and you want to get there as soon as you can, by the end of the first year in business, you want to be in thrival, you want to be in 6 figures or starting to get there, then you want to delegate and outsource your pain to other people, okay, who are willing to do that until they start to get lazy and go bad, and then you have to fire them. All right, every employee will go lame, will go bad on a long enough timeline, including yourself and your business. Like, there's stuff that I'm not doing anymore because I was just like, man, I've been doing this for 7 years. I'm starting to go lame in my own business. I need to fire myself, and I need to delegate this and outsource this. And there's probably stuff in your business right now that you need to delegate and outsource. And there's people that you need to fire. And you know who it is. You know the employees you need to fire, and you certainly know the clients that you need to fire. And here's how you know the clients that you need to fire. When you see an email or a text from them, your heart sinks into your stomach. You're like, fuck, this motherfucker. My mentor calls these motherfucker clients, okay? And a motherfucker client is a client where you wake up and you're like, fuck, I gotta call this motherfucker today. Or I hate this motherfucker. And just dealing with them is like 10 times extra weight, extra stress, extra time, because they're so psychologically heavy because they're toxic people. And it takes so much out of you dealing with these people. So my client that I was speaking to this week who went lazy this week, we narrowed it down to 3 different clients. One of them was just a bad project. We'll see if it's a problem client in the future. We're going to wrap that project up. And now we found ways in the future to make sure that we can test future projects, to make sure that we don't, he's a programmer, to make sure that we can look at the code base and make sure that it's not a damn mess. So we don't get in a situation where we sign a contract on Upwork where they can hurt us with a bad review and a month-long project. And then after that, we get and see that the code base is a mess, and it's going to take us twice as long as we thought it was going to be. So I think that's going to be a problem client. He's not sure, because I'm pretty sure they must have had to fire a developer. They wanted it done quickly. The guy who was managing the project didn't know the code base was a mess. So either through ignorance or greed or both, I think they will be a problem client in the future. And then there was another problem client that we took on at a higher fee. We said, okay, why don't we throw a higher fee at them because they're so difficult to work with. And they took it, but now even at that fee, it's not worth it. Okay. And another client who's a newer client, but they're becoming a problem. And My client's a very hard worker. He comes from a middle-class background. He has very solid middle-class, Protestant work ethic, which is fantastic, which is a great thing to have. But it can hurt you when you're trying to move to higher levels of entrepreneurship, because it's hard for him to turn down that money. It's like, hey, he's making six figures. He's in his early 20s. He wasn't making this kind of money before. He's doing way less work than he used to. And I'm like, that's all well and good, but we still need to get rid of these clients, even though they're willing to offer us good money, for us to get to the next level, because you're right now getting broken down by them. And that's okay. That's telling you that it's too much pain for where we're at. Because he's not in survival mode anymore. That's the thing. Most people have, you have to adapt to not being in survival mode. And survival mode is basically like, pretty much most people's entire lives. You have to go to school, you're forced to by the government. And there's a ton of shame involved in not going to school. And then you have to work a job for money because you need money, and there's a ton of shame in not doing what you're told on the job. But once you start to get out on your own and you don't have to do work, things that weren't painful become more painful. You get softer. You have to fight comfort. And comfort is a real enemy. It's why you see so many guys stop posting or, get slower over time because they get comfortable. I have to push myself to discomfort every day. I have to push myself into eustress every day because I know that, it's very easy for me to be comfortable. It's very easy for me to get too comfortable. So I have to, find the right things that inspire me within my business. I had to have delegated the things that I hate and then use those things that inspire me as eustress. I didn't want to do this video today. But I know that it needs to be done, so I found a way to get inspired by it. I will want to do videos more once my course is done and I have less on my plate and I've put most of my clients into group coaching, and then I, have 3-4 hours where I can just research and slowly put together a video like I like to do.